We are going to learn about parts of a flower. Not all the plant, but some of the plants are having both male and a female reproductive parts in a plant itself. Some of them are listed here. If you can see, these are the sepals, which has another name known as calyx, and petals, which has another name known as corolla. And you have a male reproductive part known as stamen, which has the subordinates of two, that is anther and a filament, and which is together known as androecium. In a female reproductive, you have a pistil, which is known as carpel, contains style and ovary, which is a female. Here we are going to learn about pollination and fertilization. As you can see, pollination is a process where the transfer of pollen grains from the male anther to the female stigma. In this way, pollination has been classified into different types. The first is self-pollination, where the pollen transfers in the same plant of the same flower or different flower. Or cross-pollination means the insects transfer the pollen grains from one plant flower to the another plant flower of the same species. In this way, you have wind pollination, insects pollination, and also you have animal pollination, where the pollen grains are transferred from one place to the another place. That means from the male to the female part. In this way, after pollination and germination, fertilization takes place, where male and female gametes are fuses and forms a diploid zygote. Here in this, I am going to explain you complete detail what is pollination, how it takes place. As you can see, the female and the male reproductive part of a flower plant, with the names given there, right side and the left side. Note down all the names. In the sexual reproduction of flowering plants, you see the male gametes in the pollen grains, that is the male gametes of the pollen grains, fuses with the female gametes in the ovule. The male gamete from the anthering is transferring through stigma and entering into the ovule. That is pollination. In general, we can say the pollen grains are transferring from the anther to the stigma. The pollen grains transferring from the male anther to the female stigma is known as pollination. Pollination is classified into two types. As I said, you cross-pollination and self-pollination. Self-pollination is nothing but pollination takes place within the plant of same flower or different flower. That means the pollen grains are transferred within the plant of the same flower or the different flower. This is known as self-pollination. Cross-pollination from one plant to the another plant is known as cross-pollination. The plants are two different, but the species remains same species. In this way, the pollination takes place. You understood till here. I hope you understood clearly. Next, the pollination differs in many ways, like insect pollination, wind pollination. How does it happen? Insect pollinated flowers are what? That means here the insects carries the pollen grains. First, insects are moving across in search of foods. As they move across, they are attracted toward the strongest scent of flowers than the brightest color of the petals. As they are attracted towards the brightest color of the petals and the nectars, these insects sit on the flower to consume the nectar. At the same time, the pollen grains are attached to their body, as it is a sticky substance. In this way, the insects move from one male reproductive part to the another female reproductive part of a flower. This is how the pollen grains are transferred from the anther to the stigma. As you can see, the insect is moving from one male anther to the another part of a female stigma. This is how pollination takes place with the help of the certain parts of the male and female reproductive part. As you can see, pistil is the female reproductive part. In the ovary, the male and a female gametes fuses at one place and forms a diploid zygote. That means what is fertilization? The fusion of male and female gametes. You can see the pollen grains are moving from one place to the other place, from the male to the female, and traveling down towards the ovule. You can see it is traveling down towards the ovule. This is how fertilization takes place, entering towards the ovule, and then the diploid zygote formation takes place. This is what sexual reproduction in flowering plants.